means. I'm actually kind of curious to see what Aki's condition was. What he mentioned. I think she mentioned it before. Let's see. I haven't watched any of her videos in a while, so I don't know.
I can actually hear Joey in the other room talking about this like exact topic. I think his video will probably come up at the same time as mine, but we'll see. But anyways,
this was 9 months ago. Okay.
Akidearest. So if you guys follow me on social media, you probably had heard that I was going through a kidney infection for the past week, and I've actually been hospitalized for the past 5 days, and I just recently got released yesterday. I just wanted to formally just explain what happened and the whole process, and actually even show you guys some footage from inside a Japanese hospital, just in case if this ever happens to you guys.
Let's check it out.
I already have videos like prepped up that I wanted to do, but I thought it's just kind of weird to just pretend like it never happened and then just show you guys something completely unrelated. So yeah, I had a kidney infection. All of a sudden I wake up and I have really, really bad body aches. And my fever just shot up to 39.5 degrees Celsius.
Oh shit. Wait, what? Hold the fuck up. Body temperature of 39.5 C? 103 F? Dude, you are cooking. Dude, that is bad. Holy shit. Woo! That's some crazy shit right there.
102 degrees Fahrenheit, which is very high. Also in the middle of the night, I was waking up, kind of hanging over the toilet, feeling really nauseated. I was also feeling chills. I was getting really, really cold. And I had like 2 sweaters, 2 blankets, and I put on the heater on just to essentially make the room a sauna because I was just shivering so much.
So usually, okay, so this is kind of like a normal reaction of how the body tries to fight infections. If you guys have ever taken chemistry or even watched like Cells at Work, they do mention this a little bit, but I'll just kind of give you a brief summary of it. Essentially what the body wants to do is to try to overheat the bacteria and kind of kill it through heating up, because bacteria can only live up to a certain degree before it just becomes like non-functioning and just a terrible environment for them. Essentially you're kind of trying to burn the bacteria in that regard, and the body tries to create an environment, or at least stimulates your brain and your body to think. Your brain tries to stimulate that you are super cold and that you need to, heat up some more. That's why you're always shivering. That's why you're adding layers to make yourself, even warmer and warmer, because they want you to be at a certain temperature to be able to help fight the infection, because not only are your like white blood cells unable to handle it and your immune system unable to handle it, they need like some extra help by having you wrap yourself in extra warm environment. So that's what happens. That's why you're shivering and you feel like you're cold and you need to add more layers and need extra heat. The problem with that is that the body then tends to ignore everything else when you try to heat up, and so that not only does it make it uncomfortable for you, but can also have some damaging effects if you're not careful in that regard.
And it wasn't working. Joey was actually out, I think, with Trash Chase at the time, and he called me for an update, and I told him my temperature, and then he freaked out, and then he actually came home, and then he even called the clinic, and they called us in. And when I got there, they did some tests on me. They did a little interview with us, and then I had to do a urine test. The doctor sits us down, and he asks me to turn around, and he says, "Can I hit your back just lightly?" So I sit up, and then he punches the right side of my back, and I didn't react to it. But then he punches the left side of my back and I jump, and he asked, "Did that hurt?" And then I said, "A little, but not that much." He's like, "Okay." And I never noticed this pain before up until the doctor actually like hit my kidney. So then he sits us down, he gets the results of the urine test, and then he says, "Okay, so there is bacteria that has been found in your urine, and I'm going to guess that you have a UTI, a urinary tract infection, which is very common, especially in women. But..."
Yep. That's very, very common for women, especially this is just simply due to the way the anatomy is set up. But yeah, you have bacteria that's festering in the the urinary tract where you normally pee. Be very painful. Nothing new, nothing crazy there.
Somehow it has now traveled to your kidney. That is the best guess. But because it was a clinic at the time, they didn't do like a full-on culture test. In order to do that, you have to go to a full-on hospital. He said, "Okay, I'm going to do a blood test on you because you're having pretty bad symptoms right now. But because you're young, I'm going to give you some antibiotics, and we're going to like just see how it plays out, because it's not a life-threatening amount that I'm seeing." That night was very rough. I feel like Joey and I didn't really get any sleep. It's already like 4 in the morning and we are trying to get my temperature down as much as possible. Luckily, I was actually texting my mom, who is a nurse, but then she had to go fly out. So then I started texting my godmother, who is also a nurse, and my uncle, who's a doctor.
Oh my
was,
gosh. All, of course, all the Filipinos, even me being in healthcare, we all have some role in the healthcare field. Yeah. It is like that. It does be like that sometimes. One thing to note, yeah, from what it sounds like, I don't know. I can kind of understand where the doctor was going in that regard, of him giving her antibiotics to start off of, like some pills to start and see if it is. I don't know if at 103 temperature that would have helped. Maybe it might have subsided some issues, but the fact that she already had some pain up in her, was it her left kidney, kind of is already worrying, because the UTI, the infection, can actually travel upward, and if it does go into your bloodstream, then the infection can just literally start to go everywhere, all over the body.
Said, yeah, this sounds like a UTI that's gotten pretty bad, and I don't know how we let it get to this point, because usually you can notice that something is wrong before it hits your kidney. Usually with a UTI, you can see it, you can feel it, and you can smell it. It is.
They're right. You can actually feel a UTI for a majority of people. And then the smell, oh gosh, working in the healthcare field, it's very hard to identify different smells at this point when it comes to like certain diseases and such. But usually if you have a UTI, you can feel it early on, and that's usually like a good sign for you to at least know that it's a problem, right? But like what they're describing and what it sounds like is that if it did work up to the kidney and got into the bloodstream, she probably was going to go septic, right? And so sepsis is like infection of the bloodstream, which means it can go everywhere. I think that's probably what she's leaning in on right now.
It's very obvious when there's an infection. That's all I'm going to say. You guys can just look it up, because I don't want to gross you guys out too much. But the thing is, I didn't get any of that.
I can gross you if I really wanted to. I'm not gonna gross. There are certain smells, sounds, or sensations that you can tell when something's off. It really is like, you really need to pay attention to your own body and like kind of feel it out and be like, okay, there's something up weird or feeling with infections and such.
The sight, the smell, the pain, it wasn't there. I don't know why. So I thought everything was fine. But admittedly, I actually don't drink as much water as I probably should, and I hold in my pee a lot. So that combined with whatever else was going on, because you can get a UTI from a lot of things. Women can get this from even the most simplest things without thinking. So those two things, not having water and holding in your pee, are just like two really big things mixed with whatever else
she's
in
right.
my life
Yep,
that I
that's
wasn't
very,
paying
very
attention
true.
to.
Stay hydrated and try not to hold your pee too often.
In my body long enough that it traveled up and into my kidney, and then it sat in my kidney long enough for it to start spreading into my blood. I was in a lot of pain, and by pain I mean just everywhere, just
yeah,
body.
That sounds like sepsis. Sounds like sepsis.
The doctor says that bacteria has been found in my blood. In fact, a very significant amount of bacteria was found in my blood, and said the average person should have no more than 0.2 to 1% of bacteria in their entire body. Aki has 17%.
Ooh,
of
shit.
Bacteria in her body, which is very significant. It's starting to turn into what's called sepsis, which is extremely dangerous,
sepsis. I knew it.
A blood infection, and a lot of things can go wrong with that. But luckily enough, we caught it early, that it can definitely be treatable. But we had to go to a hospital right away. He told us, just keep taking the antibiotics. If you haven't cleared up by Monday, then we'll see where we go from there. But we just couldn't wait, so we...
That's not the advice I would have gone with. Maybe it's just me being a healthcare professional. I would not have asked someone to stay behind. They were septic like that. Usually if they are septic or if they're in really bad cases, because maybe it's different because she's younger than the normal demographics that I'm used to dealing with. But even then, if someone has already crossed into sepsis territory, we take that patient in, we try to, you know, pump them full of antibiotics immediately, get that bitch under control, check all the labs, check all of that stuff, trying to make sure we're fighting the infection and also keeping the symptoms under control so that they can feel a little bit more normal, at least as we aggressively try to clean that out. Because what you end up doing is that you end up having to do a bunch of, I'm sure she's probably going to show this at some point, but you're going to need to take like some broad spectrum antibiotics, at least in the beginning, wipe it out, and then get a little bit more specific, and then get more specific style of antibiotics, and then kind of go from there to kind of cleanse your body out. The problem with doing some of these processes is that there is a risk of hurting the kidneys in the process, so you have to do it at a certain pace so that we can safely clean out your body with the antibiotics while not overstimulating your body to get rid of all of the infection with all of these antibiotics. That's a little bit more nuanced from a healthcare standpoint. That's a whole different thing that you guys don't really need to get into. But essentially, since the doctor told her to stay home with that, especially with a 103 temp, if she was still sitting around that point, I would not have stuck around that long for that, especially if they did find that she did have an infection in her bloodstream already. That was definitely a sign I would have told. It's like, yeah, just go straight to the hospital.
We basically begged him to take us, being like, dude, I can't. I'm not waiting till Monday. At this point, it's like Saturday, I think. So we go to a hospital. They do some blood work on us, and yeah, they basically just give us the official statement saying you have a UTI that reached to your kidney is properly infected, it is starting to go into your blood, so we're going to give you antibiotics now and clear it all out. And he was anticipating no more than 2 weeks, so he said, let's just say 2 weeks for now. It depends how your body reacts to the antibiotics and how much we're able to clear out. But you're gonna have to like actually stay here and be hospitalized. So they send me to the ward. I'm on an IV now. The first 2 nights
IV, accurate. Hey, hold on. Okay, funny. Hold on. I gotta judge. I have to judge. It looks like an elbow IV, or in a medical term, an AC IV. I don't like that personally as my choice of IV, but you know, that's just from me being a nurse and like not wanting to, you know, deal with it. Not dealing with the machine beeping all the time. But hey, you know, if you're in an emergency, an AC is always a good go-to, especially if you need to.
I'm feeling pretty good. Like they're 99%. They said they were 99% certain that I'm gonna recover.
Yeah, it's a very common infection apparently.
Sepsis. Okay, yeah. Sepsis is fairly. I can't really judge if it's saying that it's common, but for a lot of people that we take care of, like with these kinds of infections, it does happen quite a bit. I'm a little bit skewed in that, yeah, this does happen, and I take care of a lot of patients who have gone septic before.
It was really hard to walk. They also wanted to track how much water I was drinking and track how many times I was going to the bathroom. And being in a ward.
Wait, what did she say? Wait, what?
Track how much water. It was really hard to walk. They also wanted to track how much water I was drinking and track how many times I was going to the bathroom.
Yep, that's accurate. That is accurate. They wanted to know how much water you're drinking, how much fluids you're taking in, and also how much are you peeing out. Not only how often are you peeing, but how much you actually pee out is also very important too, because we want to measure and keep an eye on what's happening in the kidney, just to make sure like nothing is like the kidney's not shutting down or anything like that, or changing color or doing anything like that. So like we do a lot of different things. It sounds weird, but there is a rationale behind it, and it does seem awkward, but that is part of the process of keeping an eye on it, to see if you are recovering or if it's going south or if there's any other problems in between as well. Also, one thing, I gotta back up just a little bit. It looks like
it was really hard to walk.
Oh my god, it looks like they're doing the IVs manually. There's no machine attached to it, and I can see the roller clamp here. So they had to titrate that one manually by the amount of drops. I can't believe they do that like that. I can't believe they do it like that. Like here in the States, we have machines that we can actually connect to like the IV tubing for the antibiotics and such, and so that we can actually monitor, like accurately put out how much, you know, fluids that they receive at the same time with that. So to see her actually have to take this in a manually, that's crazy to think that the nurses actually can still do that.
And being in a ward with another patient, it wasn't too bad.
Oh, so they do share. Oh, so they share rooms. Okay, that I can see that. I think I remember seeing some animes where like some of the patients were sharing a room with each other before.
It was when then there were like 3 other patients that came, and now there's like all of us in this small room, and let's just say like I could not really sleep.
Yeah, that happens. There's nothing you can do. One thing I know that my hospital does is that like we offer like with patients who have who are in those situations, like, do you want some earplugs to help try to sleep? Sometimes that's like the only thing we can really offer at that point. So earplugs can be a good thing for you guys.
It was at that point I decided that I'm going to just get a private room, because if I'm already in this much pain, I want the process to be as smooth as possible, both physically and mentally. So also, my mom...
Wait, so she could get how did she get the private room? Like, do you pay extra for that or something? Or I'm curious to see how, because I know here in America you can actually, and depending on the hospital that you go to, a lot of patient rooms are now private. In majority of them, there are some that are still like multi-bed rooms as well. So I'm curious to see how Japan decides, like, hey, if you want a private room, do you just pay extra for that? Is that like a separate out-of-pocket kind of thing? In the hospital, usually you just don't get an option. You just, you know, this is what you get. That's good.
I have my own private room. Also, the food at the hospital wasn't too bad. It was like
that's actually really nutritious looking. Like, you got a miso soup, some rice, I'm assuming some sort of beef veggie mix,
hit or miss sometimes,
tea.
But I was eating pretty healthy, so that was really good.
I don't know what this is. Is that just that looks like a salad maybe, and then this looks like some more like steamed veggies potentially.
I just wanted to share a really American moment with you guys by talking about the medical bill that I had to pay for this entire thing. So for 5 nights at the hospital with the IV, and also switching to a private room, which is extra on top of it, the entire thing was $871. I did not
what?
think it would be that cheap.
Wait, what? $871 for all of that? Holy shit. That's out of pocket. $871. That is insane. Wow, that's wild. Maybe we could learn something from them in terms of healthcare systems, but I don't know the specific details about how their system works. Maybe there's something we can learn there.
Like in the US, you'd be paying like $20K. And that's me being optimistic, all right? So I just wanted to share this.
Probably with like
stuff, just being mind blown by that entire price point, which the majority of that is actually because I switched to a private room. The private room is like $270 a day, and I stayed there for like 2 or 3 days. Had I not done that, it would have been even cheaper. So I just wanted to show this of an American just having their mind blown again through the healthcare system and how fucked it is in the American system.
Yeah, so typically the process is like when we start you off on like an aggressive dose of antibiotics through the IV, like she went through, you'll start off with that, and then we'll track your numbers over the course of however many days that they believe, and if the trend looks good, depending on, you know, how the infection rate decreases over time, they'll switch you to pills so that you can continue treatment and do it from home. At least from there, it's like you can be in the comfort of your own home instead of having to be in the hospital, where you do not need to necessarily be monitored 24/7 in that regard.
Don't hydrate as much as they'd like to. I would like to just tell you guys I'm like the living example of one of the worst case scenarios that can happen. Had Joey and I not gone to the hospital, this could have ended up actually really bad. And I just wanted to give some advice for people to stay hydrated and remember to not hold in your pee, because that shit will shoot up to your kidney and then you can get a blood infection, apparently.
Okay. Yeah, so that pretty much was it. Yeah, holy crap. Yeah, that seems like a pretty standard course of action when you have someone with sepsis. There's a lot of more nuances and a lot more details into it, but I wouldn't bore you guys with that or anything like that. Like if you were a healthcare professional, I'm sure you and I could easily have a whole discussion about like checking lab values, the types of IV fluids going on, as well as a bunch of other different stuff going on with there. I'm not gonna bore you guys with any of that details because I don't think that's really relevant here.